Good afternoon. I'm Regina Heinrich, Director of the Stevens Center for Family Business, part of the Scott L. Carmona College of Business at Saginaw Valley State University. It's my pleasure to welcome everyone here this afternoon. Shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves in 3 generations. This prophecy about how family businesses will fare over time, attributed to Andrew Carnegie, by the way, is supported by the statistics. About 30% of family businesses will succeed to the 2nd generation, about 12% will be passed on to the 3rd generation, and some 3 or 4% will survive into the 4th generation and beyond, which isn't bad actually when compared to non-family businesses, but that's another story for another day. In this day and age, as today's keynoters, Meagen and Larry Johnson, will tell us, what's notable about generations in the workplace is that currently there may be 2, 3, even 4 or 5 generations working in the family business at the same time. What could possibly go wrong? But before we get into their keynote, there are just a few other things that we'd like to cover this afternoon. First, I'd like to recognize the leaders of Saginaw Valley State University who are here with us today. Dr. Jyoti Ghosh, Dean of SVSU's Carmona College of Business, and Ellen Crane, SVSU Associate Vice President and General Counsel. Thanks to you both for being with us. If you'd please just take a quick look at the cover of today's program brochure, you'll notice a revised logo. It includes a banner proclaiming 25 years. Yes, having been established during 1999-2000, and with the first major event having been offered in November of 2000, the Stevens Center for Family Business will celebrate its 25th year of supporting the success of family businesses during calendar year 2025. The celebration will kick off with our annual member dinner on Thursday, January 23rd. It will feature as keynoter the Great Lakes Bay Region's own Dick Garber, owner of Garber Management Group, the 14th largest family business that is headquartered in Michigan. The year will proceed with many additional events, activities, and observations. What I would like to especially emphasize is that the focus for celebrating the 25-year history of the center will be on those many, many people who have contributed to its success. In fact, our numbers show that over the years, more than 3,500 different people have engaged with the SCFB, most of them multiple times. I'm not going to name them all now, but that was supposed to be a joke. So, okay, never mind. But just to give you an idea of the many great relationships that have been forged over the years, people and groups involved with the SCFB have included, of course, the founding board, member firms which started at about 6 and now number about 90, sponsor firms including 4 current sponsors who are among the original 6, some 120 expert presenters who have come from all over the country to share their expertise in family business best practices, policies, and principles. The real experts, those family business owners and leaders who have told their stories and shared their real life experiences on the SCFB stage so that we can learn from each other. The many Stevens Center members who have participated in our podcast series, further extending knowledge and awareness about the deep joys and challenges of owning and operating a family business. The people who have given generously of their time and wisdom to serve on the SCFB Executive Council, as well as on our committees. The generous donors, individuals and organizations who have contributed to the SCFB Endowment Fund, as well as to the Paul Usilding Scholarship Fund and the Godert Family Business Endowed Scholarship. Carmona College of Business faculty and scholars who do original research in the field of family business. CCB administration and faculty, past and present, permanent and adjunct, who have been involved with the academic offerings for SVSU students in the field of family business, SVSU students themselves, who study family business management as part of their degree program, the professionals who facilitate our SCFB peer groups, and of course, the Stevens Center for Family Business staff, Casey Stevens, Andrea Henning, and Jordan Williams. Please give yourselves and each other a hearty round of applause. You are the energy, heart, and spirit of the Stevens Center for Family Business, and we heartily thank you. So with that brief trip down memory lane, let's return to the here and now. It's my pleasure to invite to the stage Dr. Jayoti Ghosh, Dean of the Scott L. Carmona College of Business. Please welcome Dr. Ghosh.
Thank you, Regina. It's my pleasure to welcome everyone to campus today, especially our guests, Meagen and Larry Johnson, who will, of course, as Regina pointed out, that they will be providing or delivering the keynote presentation. I would also like to acknowledge Dr. Isabella Sheminska, Associate Professor of Management in the Scott L. Carmona College of Business. Dr. Sheminska specializes in family business and management. And many of Dr. Sheminska's family business management students are here with her today. Can you please stand so we can recognize you? As you know, we are just at the beginning of our new academic year, the 24-25 academic year at SVSU. And for the College of Business, the Scott L. Carmona College of Business, the enrollment for the 2024 semester has a respectable enrollment increase, has shown a respectable enrollment increase. It has been over 4% since last fall in our undergraduate program and 43% in our graduate program, the MBA. The two undergraduate programs which have seen most growth this fall are general business and finance. And general business, the growth follows the national trend that we see in almost all of the schools of business nationwide. We also have a robust Master of Business Administration MBA program, which offers concentration in accounting, health administration, business analytics, entrepreneurship, management, and marketing. And our MBA students also have many options. It is possible to complete the degree in 1 year. There's also the 100% online option. And for our undergraduates, we offer the 4+1 program, which allows them to complete 2 degrees in 5 years. So those of you who are here, if you're interested in our MBA program, please contact us. Also, with our Carmona College of Business's accreditation by the prestigious AACSB International, our students get or receive top-ranked business education, as well as great value for with SVSU having the lowest MBA tuition in the state. As I said, if you are interested, please contact Dr. Luke Vogel, director of the MBA program, and there are flyers on the resource table out there who can discuss with you how the MBA program can best fit or meet your career goals and needs. His contact information is also on the flyers. So have I done my recruiting? Good. And now it is my pleasure to introduce Mr. Paul Altman, President and CEO of Vantage Plastics, whose company has been a member of the Stevens Center since 2010. Paul is the chair of the Stevens Center for Family Business Executive Council. Please join me in welcoming Paul.
I don't know, I'm not sure if this will reach high enough or not. Thank you, Dr. Ghosh. And I wanted to just welcome everybody here and say a few words about the Stevens Center from the heart. The Stevens Center, well, the formal objective is to support the success of family business through the generations with education, networking, and collaboration. That's the objective. But you know that quite often they have some great breakout sessions. We have some fabulous presenters. I had the chance to talk a little bit ahead of time. You'll hear some great stuff today, but I want to encourage all of you to, and we don't have a breakout section today, but we do have those, and those are powerful. I've been honored to be with the first generation group of people, and the wisdom that's in that room that is shared is powerful. And they have a second generation and a key non-family members too. So I encourage you to stay with us and participate in those programs because they're as powerful as the presentation, and you'll see how powerful it is. They gave me 20 minutes and I wanted an hour, so I'm going to move on. But on behalf of the Stevens Center Executive Council, I'd like to welcome everybody here. We want to welcome our sponsors, and I'm going to list the sponsors that are here. They're crucial to the program, crucial to the success of the program. And I'll list them, and at the end we can give them a round of applause. First State Bank, and if you'd like to stand as I name you off, that'd be great if you have representatives here. AKT Peerless, Braun Kendrick, Fifth Third Bank, Frankenmuth Credit Union, Dan Handley and Associates, Dale Carnegie Training, the Huntington Bank, Independent Bank, the Pendleton Baumgartner Group, Morgan Stanley, the Phimation Strategy Group, Plant Moran LLC, PNC Bank, Riemann, Rick Olson Seminars, John Warwick, Saginaw Bay Underwriters, TriStar Trust Bank, Warner Norcross Judd, Weinlander Fitzhugh, and Yo Accounting. A deep thanks and round of applause for all these folks. The Stevens Center is a membership organization, and there are 3 family businesses that have become members since last spring. And it's my pleasure to introduce 2 of them here today. Abley Greenhouse and Garden Center is a full-service garden center and nursery that has been family-owned for over 45 years. They carry everything you need to make your garden look its best. I'm going to have to go there. I can see that right now. From beautiful annuals and perennials to vegetables and gardening supplies, Abley's has the products and plants you need to grow and care for your garden. Jennifer and Matt Bovey currently lead Abley's, and their son Corbin also works in the business. About a week and a half ago, Abley Greenhouse was awarded the 2024 Outstanding Small Business by the Saginaw Chamber of Commerce. Could you stand? Congratulations and welcome. We have MCOR. MCOR was a member of the Stevens Center for Family Business in the past, and now they're rejoining the center. MCOR Incorporated specializes in design, manufacturing, and repair of custom linear motion components, actuators, ball screws, electromechanical assemblies, and more. By producing high-precision parts They service aeronautical, nuclear, defense, medical, and satellite manufacturers in the U.S., South America, Canada, and Europe. EMCOR is led by its founder, Pat O'Brien, with the second generation working in the business. Could you stand? There you go. Thank you and welcome. It's also my pleasure to welcome some guests, family business guests who are with us this afternoon. And we're hopeful that you received a warm welcome and will decide to become part of the Stevens Center for Family Business. Trademark Commercial Group offers a range of services that include sales and leasing of commercial industrial properties, office space, medical and office space, retail sales and leasing, and investment real estate. Additionally, they provide confidential consulting for small businesses, corporate consulting, and real estate development. Trademark is led by Gretchen and Greg Witherspoon with the next generation working in the business. Could you stand? And there you go. Thank you. We appreciate you being a part of our program today, and look forward to you joining us down the road. With that, I am honored to turn this microphone and the rest of my 20 minutes over to Casey Stevens. Casey?
Right. Good afternoon. It is my pleasure to introduce our keynote presenters, father and daughter team, Meagen and Larry Johnson. Combined, they have spent close to 4 decades dedicated to enhancing workplace relationships by addressing the unique characteristics of each generation and teaching leaders how they can utilize their generational strengths to improve the workplace. During the 90s, while working for companies like Quaker Oats, Kraft Foods, and Xerox, Meagen often heard negative comments about Gen Xers, her generation. Things like, they're all slackers or gold-collar workers. Being an Xer herself, Meagen knew those terms were unfair, untrue, and hurtful. So she began researching small and large businesses to debunk generational myths and discover ways to solve multi-generational cliches. That gave birth to thousands of generational presentations and the best-selling book, Generations, Inc., From Boomers to Linksters, Managing the Friction Between Generations at Work, which she didn't just do herself, she co-authored with her father, Larry. Each member and sponsor firm will receive a copy of their book tonight as a special treat. Books will be available in the back of the room, and Meagen and Larry will sign books and answer questions one-on-one after the event. Without further ado, let's give them a nice warm welcome, Meagen and Larry Johnson.
I got it.
All right.
Okay.
All right, good. Now you can sit back down.
I can sit back down.
All right.
That's all she
Would you
needs
give
me
Casey
for.
another round of applause? That was awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Casey.
And normally I'm by myself doing this presentation, so it is a special treat to have my dad with me here today. So thank you for that. And something that I learned working in a multi-generational business, and also learned talking to a few of you before coming here today, was the beauty of a multi-generational business is your family will do things to make you successful that in a traditional business setting people normally don't do, but also in a family business, you'll say things to each other that you would never say in a traditional business setting. But I would like you to think of the multiple generations you work with and also live with. More specifically, I'd like you to think of the older and younger generations. What do you love when it comes to working and interacting with the older generations, or as I like to call them, the more seasoned generations? But on the flip side, what maybe gets under your skin a little bit when it comes to working and interacting with the older, seasoned generations? Same thing about the younger generations. What do you really love and enjoy? But maybe what irritates you just a little bit. I'm going to give you a few minutes to talk about this at your table. The time is going to go by fast. I'll let you know when we're 50% of the way through the time. Go. Okay, let me interrupt you there. Let me interrupt you there. If everybody would do me a big favor and take a look at one of the screens, please. Take a look at one of the screens. Oh, the man was never better than right there. And do your very best Saturday Night Fever imitation, everybody, and point to the sky. Point to the sky. And the count of 3, you point to your group spokesperson. 1, 2, 3. Nothing like volunteers. Okay. Let's start talking about the older, more seasoned generations first. What do we really love and enjoy when it comes to interacting and working with the more seasoned generations? Please tell me. Work ethic. Yeah, they have a very strong work ethic, right? You come in on 8 o'clock in the morning and they're still there wearing the same clothes from the day before, right? I never went home. No. All right. Work ethic. What else? Tribal knowledge. All right. We have this difficult customer. Don't worry. I've dealt with this customer for years. I know how to handle the situation. Okay. What else? Problem solvers. All right. Yeah, we've dealt with problems like this before. We can handle it. What else? Experience. All right. Terrific. Well, give me one more. One more thing we really love. Not afraid to make a phone call. And they might even come see you in your office. All right, here's what other groups have said about working with the older generation. Wisdom, experience, knowledge. They make very good mentors. Customers like and trust them. They have strong face-to-face skills. They're always on time, if not early. Because if you're not early, you're what? Late. Okay, all of you sound like my husband. I just look at them and say, no, now we're early and we're waiting. They're dependable, and they like to talk about the good old days. Let's give the older generations a round of applause. Although, we got to flip this pancake over. Maybe what gets under our skin a little bit, or maybe we find a little frustrating when it comes to dealing with these seasoned generations. Frustrating. Resistant to change. Sure, you got this brand new person, 4th generation. You brought her on to handle the social media. She is so excited to be there. She's told all her friends via Instagram what she's doing. And she says, hey, come over here, take a look at this. I think if we move this, change this, flip this, turn this, it'll be bigger, it'll be brighter, save us money, save us time, the customers will love it. What do you think? Wow. Now this person over here has been running the family business for a long time. I've been running this family business before there was a family. They listen to what this new person has to say, and what do they say? No. No. That wouldn't work. Why wouldn't this work? I've given a lot of thought. Why won't it work? We tried that before. We tried this? I don't ever remember trying this. When did we try this? We tried it before you were born. All right, so resistant to change. What else? That's not how we've done it in the past. This is the way we've always done it. What else do we find frustrating? No DocuSign. Sometimes they'll call you on the phone to tell you they're sending you an email that you should print. Then maybe you can sign it and fax it back. I just put some thermal paper in my fax machine. All right, give me one more frustration. One more, please. Technology, yeah. All right, here's what other groups have said. Resist change, stuck in their ways, stereotype the younger generation, skeptical, slow, don't embrace new technology, and They like to talk about the good old days. All right, we have to be fair. Let's talk about the younger generations. What do we really love and enjoy when it comes to working and interacting with the younger generations? Please tell me. Tech savvy. They will stand right next to you and text you. Then they look at you and say, did you get my text? All right, tech savvy. What else? Fresh ideas, all right? Hey, I know I came from a different industry, but we tried it at this company. Let's try it here. All right, what else? They don't like to talk. Is that a benefit? Lucy feels not talking is a benefit. All right, I love it. All right, what else? I heard one over here. They're energetic. All right, give me one more. One more thing we love. What was it? Creative. Thank you, Dad. All right. Here's what other groups have told me. Creative. It's almost like you've seen the slide, Dad. Tech savvy, passionate, entrepreneurial, environmentalist, fun, energetic. They challenge the status quo. They're excited and they embrace change. I agree with all of them. Let's give the younger generations a round of applause. But we got to flip the pancake over, don't we? What do we find maybe a little frustrating about the younger generations? Frustrating. Think they know it all because they Googled it. All right, they want it all right away. I heard something over here. Entitlement. You owe me. They want to know when they get a raise. When I get promotion. I've been here for 2 weeks. Yes. What was it? Casual, sure. They show up at 8:15. I know you told me 8, but I'm almost early. But I have to leave at 2. I got plans. All right, what else? What else do we find frustrating? What else do we find frustrating? They don't do what they say, all right? Give me one more. Easily offended. All right. Here's what other groups have said. Bad attitude, entitled, don't want to pay their dues, continually complaining, gossip, lazy, apathetic, rude, disloyal, wants reward with no effort. But my favorite one's that last one. They want to have fun. And they'll tell you if the work's not fun. You want me to come in on a Saturday? Oh, no, that is not fun. Now, you heard in my introduction that I speak to groups about different generations, and I love asking audiences to give me terms or phrases to describe the seasoned and younger generations. And obviously, I hear a lot of the same terminology. However, this list, the list of negatives about the younger generation, I cheated. I took this list out of a magazine, Life magazine, 1968. Baby boomers. How many of you are baby boomers born between 1946 and 1964? Baby boomers, let's see your hands. Oh, baby boomers, let's review. Baby boomers, your man just thought you had bad attitudes. You complained, gossip, lazy. Now all the baby boomers are sitting there saying, well, now, that's all character building stuff. Made me the business owner I am today. How many of you are Generation X? This is my generation, born between 1965 and 1980. Gen Xers? Yes? Yeah, don't sit there so smug. In 1998, Fortune magazine called us the gold collar workers. This was not a compliment. Here's a little snippet from the article. I love that last line. Work is not work. It's a hobby you happen to get paid for. And that was about Generation X in 1998. Millennials, where are the millennials in the room? Millennials. You, millennials, let's see what we were saying about you in 2013. Millennials are the me generation. It went on to say that millennials are lazy, entitled narcissists who still live with their parents. But I love that last line, why they will save us all. So let me ask all of you, what's my point? Nothing's changed. Thank you. Nothing's changed. We use the same generational stereotypes for every generation as it enters the workforce, joins you in your family businesses, enters the marketplace.
But what has changed are generational signposts. And generational signposts are events or phenomena that are specific to one generation. Now, I want to be really clear. When we're talking about generations, in no way am I trying to stereotype, generalize, or put people in boxes. Because you understand that, especially having a multi-generational business, how important inclusivity is. So when we're talking about generational signposts, what we're really trying to explain is how events, technology, and the economy shape groups of people. Clusters of people born during a certain time frame have experienced similar situations and can be differentiated from other generations. So for example, how many of you baby boomers, when you were a kid, had a paper route? How many had a paper route? Okay, quite a few of you. One of them is my dad. Dad, you had a paper route? Yes? Do you need help up?
Yeah, I got it.
You got it? Okay.
Okay.
That bionic knee is like not working.
Both of them.
Both of them. All right, so you had a paper route. How old?
I did.
How old were you when you had your paper route?
12.
12 years old.
Well,
okay.
it started at 12 and lasted till 14 or so.
Till 14, okay.
Yeah.
And we're both from Phoenix, Arizona, so I know it was in Phoenix. Was it 5 days a week or what?
7 days a week.
7 days a week,
Yeah.
okay. And how did you get the newspapers?
Oh, got on my bike at 5 in the morning, went down to the station where the newspapers were dumped, and I would pack them up and put them in the bags on my bike, and then ride my route and throw newspapers at houses.
All right, and how did people pay for the papers?
Well, on Thursday nights, I would go around to all my customers and interrupt them watching TV, and I would and collect.
They just wouldn't Venmo you the money?
No, they didn't Venmo
Oh,
me.
okay. Zelle? No?
And didn't Zelle me.
Okay.
I had to go collect by hand.
Okay, and you were how old?
I was 12.
All right, those of you who raised your hands having a paper route, was your experience similar? Yeah, all right, I see people nodding. All right, thank you, Dad. Go ahead and give my
Okay.
dad a round of applause. Yeah, thank you, Dad. How many of you today receive a newspaper? That's a lot. That's a lot. All right. All right. And who delivers your newspaper? Yeah, carrier. It's not a 12-year-old riding their bike, right? Gen Xers. Do you remember when we were little kids? Our school's gonna have a fundraiser, sell candy. Remember selling candy? How'd you sell that candy? Door to door. Everybody, how do you sell your kids candy today? You buy it all. Sure. You say to your kid, let's get it over with. I'll take one of everything. So what's my point? My point is that those of us who sold paper or delivered papers like my dad and those of you who had a paper delivery route, or those of us that sold candy door to door, you had a generational signpost that taught you your perception of time management skills, money handling skills, work ethic, customer service. Well, those generational signposts are gone. And that's true of all of us. No matter where you fall on the generational timeline, we all have generational signposts that change, evolve, and sometimes dissolve. But the conflict occurs, and there is conflict. Right now, 60% of employers report tension between the generations. 70% of older employees are dismissive of younger employee talents, and 50% of younger employees are dismissive of older employee talents. The reason being is because your generational signpost, which plays a part in your expectation of others, that generational signpost has no emotional connection to someone from a different generation. And that really is what generational diversity is trying to solve. Because true generational diversity is not excluding one generation to make another generation happy. True generational diversity is looking at each generation, their generational signposts, and what you can do to bring out the best in everyone, no matter what generation they belong to. So my goal in our time together is to take a little journey, take a look at the generations, their generational signposts, and what you can do to make each encounter, an encounter in your family business or an encounter in your personal life outside of the business, a more successful one. Sound good? All right, let's start with the baby boom. Baby boomers, these are people born between 1946 and 1964. Baby boomers, I know I asked you once. Going to ask you again. Raise your hands, raise them high. Let's give the baby boomers a round of applause. Baby boomers. This generation is huge. 72 million people were born. 72 million. This was the biggest boom in the birth rate in the United States we'd ever seen. Think about this. As baby boomers reach senior citizenship, the number of senior citizens in America is going to double. And they're still going to be driving. And if you drive anything like my dad, you just drive with your blinker on. Not turning, just driving. Blinking. Now, here's a generational assumption many of us make is we think the baby boom was exclusive to the United States. But actually, following World War II, there were booms in Europe, Asia, and South America. However, here's the generational difference. So my father, a baby boomer, he grew up in the United States. He grew up here following World War II. His generational signposts are uniquely different than my mother-in-law, who was a baby boomer. She grew up in the UK. So her generational signposts following World War II, completely different than my dad's. However, as we move down the generational timeline and technology knits the world together, we see more and more younger generations having similarities, having generational signpost similarities across the world. So, 1964, Time magazine named baby boomers the man of the year. They said baby boomers are going to clean up our cities, end racial discrimination, and find a cure for the common cold. Now, there is an assumption we make about baby boomers. It's a stereotype. I'm just as guilty. What is it that we assume about baby boomers that is not 100% accurate? Does anybody want to take a guess at what it might be? We heard it in the earlier exercise. What do we assume about baby boomers that's not really true all the time? Anybody want to guess at it? That they're perfect? Well, my dad makes that assumption about himself all the time. Technology. We give baby boomers a lot of grief about not using technology. However, baby boomers do use technology. In fact, I love pointing out to younger audience members that baby boomers were the first iPhone users. Yep, they had iPhones before anybody. I actually had a younger audience member approach me later, and she said to me, "I don't get it." I said, "You pull the string and the eyes move." You say, "All right, but Meagen, you know what? I do have somebody in my family group, or maybe it's just an employee that works for our business that is slow to embrace technology. How do I handle that?" So full disclosure, in my office, I am the one that resists new technology. So luckily for me, I have younger staff members that bring me new technology. And if you are the one who is the early adapter, you're the one that is pro this new technology, your challenge in dealing with someone like myself is that you need to demonstrate, how will this technology make my job or life easier? Don't tell me we're just getting this technology because it's got a better cell phone ring. But how will this technology make my job or life easier? 2 steps. One is the more human interaction we use when training that new technology, especially with someone who is resistant like me, the better. Ideally, you can train them one-on-one. And then you want to check back in with that person frequently. So for example, my staff, when introducing me to a new piece of technology, they train me one-on-one, and then one or two of them call me every 10 days. They don't let 10 days go by without giving me a call or coming to see me and asking me, how's it going? What has been successful? What has not worked? What are you finding frustrating? I think if you take those 2 steps, once someone understands how that technology will make their job or life easier, they often become the biggest advocates for that new technology. Now, my grandmother, she comes from the traditional generation. These are people born before 1945. I don't see anybody from that generation here, but I'm going to ask, do we have anybody? We do. Let's give the traditional generation a round of applause. Press. So my grandmother, she comes from the traditional generation, and I came to pick her up one evening to go out to dinner. And she was having her evening cocktail. She actually came to hear me speak a few years ago. She sat right up front. And when it was all over, I rushed up to her. I said, "Well, Grandma, what'd you think?" I mean, I was really excited she was there. And she said, "I heard that story you told about me." I said, "What about it?" She said, "You made me sound like a lush in front of all those people." So I promised my grandmother I would tell every audience she only has one drink every half hour. Just kidding. So there's my grandmother. She's having her drink. I show up, but I'm in a hurry. So I say to her, "Let's go." And she says to me, "Let me finish my drink." And I say to my grandmother, my traditional grandmother, I say to her, "Just pour that drink out." She says, "Pour it out?" She says, "Oh no, I will not," what? Waste my drink. You know my grandmother. I said, "Grandma, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We'll just get you another drink at the restaurant. We'll just get another drink at the restaurant." She said, "The restaurant?" "Oh no," she said, "those are too expensive." You do know my grandma. I said, "Grandma, I will buy you your drink. Just get in the car." Now, if you'd said to anybody in my peer group, "Get into the car quickly, and if you do, I will buy you your drink when we arrive," they'd be in the car. Not my grandma. My grandma just stood there, and she finished her drink. Now, here's the kicker. I love my grandmother. I think she probably will be the most amazing person I know my entire life. But I still got frustrated. It still irritated me she wouldn't throw the drink away. And it irritated me because my expectation of her behavior was based upon my generational signpost. So can you imagine you have 72 million baby boomers growing up in a world that had been created by the traditional generation? And so what baby boomers began to do during the late 60s and the early 70s is baby boomers really began to push against the rules and challenge some of the norms. And during the late 60s and the early 70s, a lot of baby boomers had some pharmaceutical assistance. Some had more than others. This is actually a picture of my two favorite baby boomers, my mom and dad. There is my dad in the center wearing what looks like a tablecloth, Dad. And you know what? I know, and being a family business, you have no control over who you get for your parents. You really just get who you get. No control at all who you get. But, and I even hate to say this with my dad in the room, I hit the parental jackpot. I got two of the most wonderful people for parents. They're engaged, they're fun, and they are really the reason that I chose to spend my adulthood in Phoenix. However, what I love the most about this photo is that my entire adolescence, my mother told me she never smoked. And then I found this picture. Keep in mind, I found this picture as an adult. I bring the photo to my mother. I said, "Mom, what is that you're holding right in there between your fingers?" And you know what? To Mom's credit, Dad, she just looked at me and she said, "I was holding it for somebody else." But baby boomers were successful by challenging the rules. By challenging the rules, the job market began to open up for women. In 1950, classified ads were separated by gender. There were help wanted ads for men, there were help wanted ads for women. And in 1950, it was perfectly legal to list the same job in both columns with two different salaries. But baby boomers challenged that. And as the job market began to open up for women, in the United States, it coincided with the Vietnam War, and the birth rate began to fall. This is where we have Generation X, people born between 1965 and 1980. Gen Xers, where are you? Woo! Well, that was anticlimactic. Wow. Let's try it again. And the birth rate began to fall. This is where we have Generation X. Gen Xers, where are you? Yes. Guess what? We're the smallest. We're barely there. We represent 13% of the entire population. Only 1 in 6 is a Gen Xer. We were lucky to get a name. In fact, Generation X, if this were the Brady Bunch, Gen Xers, we would be Jan. We're the forgotten middle child. Nobody wants to go to prom with us. We're stuck between the cute millennial sister Cindy and the more popular baby boomer sister, help me out with her name, Marsha. And Generation X were the first generation to have, in large numbers, both parents working outside the home. So when we came home from school, Mom wasn't there. Dad wasn't there. Nobody was there. What do we call this? Anybody remember? Latchkey kids. How many of you were latchkey kids? Do you have any latchkey kids in here? Oh, wow, quite a few of you. Okay. So this is the unvarnished truth about being a latchkey kid. I'm going to tell you, maybe the other latchkey kids will back me up, but this is the unvarnished truth about being a latchkey kid. It was awesome. Who thought this up? 3 o'clock, school is over, they open the doors, you're free to go. Go, 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 go. You don't have to hurry home. There's nobody waiting for you. We saunter on home when we feel like it. We let ourselves right in the front door. We could let ourselves in the front door because we have our own key. Where do we keep our key, Gen Xers? String around your neck. I know there's a few of you that head to the flower pot. We walk into the house, and there sitting on the kitchen counter was a list of tasks that have been left by management. And here's the rule. One rule. Tasks must be completed on time. On time just means for management, one of the parental units, is due home at 6 o'clock. So if they're due home at 6 o'clock, when do we start doing those tasks, Gen Xers? I heard a 5:35, I heard a 5:45, and I heard a 5:55 over here. But you know what? It's up to us to decide. If we want to take a break, we take a break. If something goes wrong, there's nobody there to help us. We've got to solve the problem, complete the task, and move on. So Generation X has become our most independent generation. All right, quick Gen quiz. What movie is this one from? Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I remember I was 13 years old watching this film. Yes, it was R-rated, and I was 13, but you just saw that picture of my parents. Are you really surprised? And if you remember the beginning of the movie, this is Brad. Brad's girlfriend breaks up with Brad. I remember 13 years old, I thought, ooh, I would never break up with Brad. But Generation X has become the most independent generation. And they join you in your family businesses, and their attitude is, hey, tell me what you want done, give me the tools and training to do it, and then just get out of my way. Now, this is before the internet, Gen Xers. What do we do to entertain ourselves when we are at home? We watch TV. TV became a signpost for Generation X. Now, whenever I start talking about TV, baby boomers get defiant. They say, well, we had TV. Sure you did. Baby boomers, how many of you remember the first color TV in your neighborhood? First color TV in your neighborhood? All right, I see some hands. If you didn't have a color TV, what kind of TV did you have? Black and white. Dad, I don't know if you remember, I was about 8 years old and you were telling me about a black and white TV. He was telling me about this thing called a black and white TV. And I remember thinking to myself, I was 8, I thought, black and white? How do they get the color out? How many TVs did you have growing up, baby boomers? 1. It was huge. Remember, the thing was ginormous. The screen was only about this big, but the TV itself was huge. You gather around it, a little semicircle, and watch all 4 channels. Oh, I'm sorry, 3 channels. What happened if you wanted to change the channel? What'd you have to do? Get up. And now get this, you had to walk to the TV. But that knob, the knob that turned the channel, that knob had fallen off months ago. It was just a pair of pliers stuck there now. Oh, you want better reception? Let me fiddle with the rabbit ears, the antenna. Oops, but that broke, so you replaced it with a coat hanger that you have wrapped in tinfoil. You see, millennials, they understand technology just fine. After 1980, the birth rate started to climb. This is where we have the millennial generation. Where are the millennials? Millennials, let's give the millennials a round of applause. Round of applause for the millennials. I don't think we've talked about a generation more over the past 10 years than we've talked about millennials. And what's interesting is millennials and Gen Xers we're side by side. There we go. We're side by side on the generational spectrum, and we have the same parents, baby boomers. Less than 10% of millennials come from a non-baby boomer parent. The majority of millennials have baby boomers for parents. And there are some of you baby boomers out there, you had yourself a Gen X kid, and you thought, well, that stunk. I'm gonna have myself a millennial now. But you're a different type of parent to millennials than you were to Gen Xers. For example, did we use the term latchkey kid to describe millennials? Yes or no? No, we said things like stay-at-home dad, soccer mom, play dates, family time. It's the quality of time that mattered. And the ripple effect is that millennials have remained very close to their parents, which I think is awesome. According to a Gallup poll, 90% of millennials report being close to their parents. I think that's a terrific statistic. Compare that to 1974, 40% of baby boomers said they'd be better off without their parents. All right, I gave you that total number of baby boomers in the beginning of the presentation. What was it? 72 million. Are you ready for the number of millennials? 80 million. They've surpassed the baby boomers. They're currently 40% of the workforce, and in 10 years, they'll be 75% of the global workforce. Nearly 80% want to work for a company that cares about their environment. REI, outdoor store. How many of you familiar with REI, outdoor retailer? Okay. REI consistently ranks on Millennials' Top 100. And what the Top 100 is a list of companies and organizations that millennials either A, want to do business with, or B, want to work for. So REI, knowing they have a lot of millennial employees that are very motivated by the care of the environment, they have something called Yay Days. Yay Days, we offer all employees a paid day off to play outside on a day of their choosing. Yay! I think that deserves a yay. Yay! You say, yeah, but that's REI. They're a big flashy retailer. I'm a more conservative, our business is a little more conservative, okay? So I like this comparison. This is another company that consistently ranks on Millennials' Top 100, Wegmans grocery store. Now, as you heard, I'm in Arizona. We don't have Wegmans. They're an East Coast store. Has anybody been to Wegmans? I haven't been to Wegmans yet. Anybody been to Wegmans? All right. I know you've been to Wegmans, Dad. But anybody else been to Wegmans? Yes? What's it like? Right? Nice, well-kept store. All right. Dad, you want to tell me what it's like, Wegmans? I'm kind of putting you on the spot. Uh-huh. All right.
Is my mic on? There you go. Yeah.
It is now.
Beautiful store.
Okay.
Yeah.
So people like Wegmans. My first job, my first corporate experience out of college was I worked for Quaker Oats, I worked for Kraft Foods. I called on a lot of grocery stores. I would never call it a nice experience. But Wegmans, a very conservative industry, it's been around for a long time, not a lot of high margins. They consistently rank on Millennials' Top 100 list because they are known for treating their employees well. They have a very do-good social agenda. And one of the things they recently did was release an app to assist shoppers with vision problems. I like this comparison because you got a big flashy retailer like REI, and then you have Wegmans, who differentiates themselves in a very conservative industry by being known for treating their employees well. Yes, Dad?
They also have a scholarship program for their young people, even part-timers.
Oh, they do. They have a scholarship program? I didn't know.
So you have to get the grades, but if you have the grades, you qualify, they pay all your college expenses.
Okay, I did not know that. Now I got to change the slide. Thanks for that.
There you go.
All right. Millennials have taken the traditional corporate ladder and thrown it away. When we say to millennials things like, you need to pay your dues before your opinion has merit or value, it is a disconnect because it's not about spending your time climbing the ladder. It's about spending your time making connections. It is also why millennials name collaboration as the top 2 characteristics they look for when looking for a place to work. A company that does this very well, helping millennials build their connections, is Zappos.com. It's an online shoe retailer. I wish I never discovered that site. But Zappos is actually based in Vegas, and it's based in downtown Vegas, and you can tour the headquarters. I'm curious, has anybody taken the tour of Zappos? Whenever I ask audiences this, most people will say, no, I'm in Vegas. I've got something else to do. But it is a fabulous tour, especially as business owners. I encourage you to take it. It's full of wonderful ideas. I will warn you, there's a big disappointment, though, at the end, because the week prior, I had been in Vermont, and I had taken the Ben & Jerry's tour. And what do you get at the end of this tour? Samples. Thank you. Free samples. At the end of the Zappos tour, I was like, well, where are the free samples? There's no free samples. But something Zappos does to create an environment where their employees feel connected is, so for example, this is Tony. He was one of the founding members of Zappos. He was a previous CEO. That's his desk right out there with everybody else's desk. The idea of you want to talk to somebody about product, customer service, improving our process, you can talk to anybody. Helping the millennials build their connections. Something Zappos does that I think is quite clever is you see the license plate with the name on it. Every 5 years, to celebrate that 5-year milestone, you receive another license plate with your name on it. And in the years in between those 5-year milestones, much like when you re-register your car, you get that little sticker. You get a little sticker to put on your license plate. Now, some of you may ask, well, Meagen, what is that? You see that big bottle right there in the middle of the screen? And you can see on the other side, there's some little bottles to the side. People ask, what is that? It's an open bar. They've got them all over at Zappos. That is why everybody's in such a good mood when you call. You say, okay, but Meagen, that's Zappos. Again, they're a big retailer. You know, they sell shoes. I'm a more conservative. Okay, so I interviewed Adam Browers. He is with Bethany Retirement Living. Assisted living is one of the most highly regulated industries in the United States. And I think if Adam can do something different in such an industry that he has to be very careful, I think we have a lot of flexibility. So Adam said to me, he said, I got rid of annual reviews. He said, the young people that are working for me today, he said, they think a newspaper at 24 hours is old news. He said, so the idea that they're going to be engaged with content that could be almost a year old, he said that was a waste of my time and a waste of theirs. He said, so I got rid of annual reviews. I replaced it with a stay interview. First stay interview occurs within the first 60 days of employment, followed by whenever you feel a stay interview is appropriate. You feel someone's becoming burnt out, disengaged, you can perform a stay interview. Here's some of the questions on the stay interview. I won't read them all, but I love that second question. When was the last time you thought about leaving your job, and what was the cause of you thinking about leaving? When do we tend to ask that question? When they're leaving the exit interview. Hey, it's great information to have, but at that point it becomes too late. He said to me, we had a certified nursing assistant. She was fabulous. He said she did a great job. She came to work. She did a really good job. He said, but what made her just so wonderful was her connection with the patients and the patients' family members. Everybody loved her. He said she'd been working for us for about 8 months. He said, and then there just seemed to be something changed. He said, you couldn't say her job performance suffered. He said, there just seemed to be something different. He said, it was like the light had gone out of her eyes. He said, we performed a stay interview. We discovered that she had a transportation issue because she and her spouse shared a car. He said, and by changing her hours, we were able to help her solve that transportation issue. He said, if we had not performed this stay interview, we would have lost a really good employee. Here's a millennial myth. Millennials want to be told thank you just for showing up. I think we hear when people say this is the participation trophy generation, right? You know, they expect a trophy. Well, I mean, who gave them the trophy in the first place? But okay. Here's a multi-generational truth. Most of us want to be told thank you. Right? In this room, there might be 2 people that genuinely don't care about being told thanks. But most of us want to be told thank you. And it is shown that when we tell our coworkers thank you, people care more. Here's where I think we're getting our generational wires crossed. Millennials have a higher desire for feedback than previous generations. 60% of millennials report they like connecting with their managers at least once a day. 40% of millennials want feedback every week. And 70% of millennials are satisfied at their place of employment when they receive detailed feedback from their supervisors. Now, as a Gen Xer, this is really hard for me, full transparency, because I make that generational mistake of making that assumption in my mind. Well, when I was that age, because when I was that age, as I shared with you earlier, I worked for companies like Quaker Oats, Kraft Foods, and I only heard from my manager when I had done something wrong, which meant I heard from him all the time. I would hear his voice on my voicemail, my stomach would just drop. I'm like, oh, what does he want? And it was really brought home to me because I made that mistake thinking, well, when I was that age, I didn't want to hear from my manager. And as I mentioned, I have several younger people on my staff, and one of them is a woman named Brittany. She handles all my social media. She's fabulous, and I think she's great. and I hadn't spoken to her really much for about a month. I was traveling. She was doing her thing. I thought everything's good. I said, and so, I don't know, after about a month, I said, let's have lunch. And we sat down and had lunch, finished the lunch, told her how great I thought she was and everything she was doing. She looks at me, she said, I just been dreading this meeting because I thought you were mad at me. And why? She says, well, I haven't heard from you all month. And I thought, I thought that was such an aha. Even though I talk about this all the time, I have to remember, just because that's not what I wanted at that age, doesn't mean that's necessarily the same for her. Millennials value these conversations because they're collaborative, and millennials want to know and feel that there's a manager, their manager or someone at the organization is like a cornerstone and participating in their career development. I was in the car with my dad. I don't know if you remember this, Dad. And that song came on the radio called Love the One You're With. Do you remember this? Okay. So the song came on the radio, Love the One You're With. How many of you heard this song, Love the One You're With? All right. I love this song. And when it came on, I told my dad, I said, turn it up. I like this song. And my dad said, well, why do you like it? I said, I like the message it sends. He said, well, what do you think the message is? I said, well, the line in the song, if you can't be with the one you love the one you're with. I said, what that means is, if the one that you love dumps you, gotta love the one you're with. And the one you're with is yourself. Do you remember what you said to me, Dad?
I said, that's not what the song is about.
And after he told me what the song was about, I said, that's disgusting. Because it doesn't matter how old you are as an adult, there's certain things you never want to hear your mom or dad say. I said, here's the difference, Dad. You grew up with that cornball slogan, free love. Spare me. Gen Xers, we grew up in the 80s. There's no such thing as a free lunch, much less free love. But now we have the younger generation, millennials and Generation Z. They don't even need to see you face-to-face to communicate because they feel comfortable using technology. And for the first time in history, we have younger generations that know more about something we need to know. We'll bring a brand new computer home. We'll call our kids over. We'll point to the computer. We'll say, okay, how do you install the parental controls? They've got the answers. 90% of millennials check their phones, texts, and social media before getting out of bed, and 65% spend as much time with their friends online versus in person. We have talked exhaustively over the past 10 years about millennials and their use of technology. However, Generation Z, people born between 1997 and 2012. Do we have any Gen Zers in the room? We do. Let's give the Gen Zers a big round of applause. Yes. I had a client say to me, they say, well, Gen Z is just like millennials. I'm like, no, there's a completely different generation. First thing different is the way they use technology. 55% spend 5 or more hours a day on their smartphone. This is the one that gets me. They were 10 and a half years old when they received their first smartphone. 10 and a half years old. I didn't even have a beeper when I was 10. I know. My parents are tough. They spend 8 to 10 hours a day engaging with online content. They spend 3 hours a day on social media. That's an hour more than millennials. And greater than 90% will consider a company's tech sophistication before accepting a job. Just to put it in perspective, the oldest Gen Zers were 7 years old when Facebook came out. That's why they only think their parents are on Facebook. So where are they spending their time? YouTube, Instagram, everybody's favorite, TikTok, and Snapchat. More than 60% of Gen Z job seekers rank the organization's social media presence as the reason they accepted the job. They may look for job opportunities on your website, but they want to see your personality reflected in social media. Now, those of you with young children and you're navigating the social media landscape, I do not envy you. However, this is the positive side of social media in the adult professional world. Social media is an inexpensive way to show the younger generation what your organization is about. You can introduce the team, show office parties, company outings, charity events, employee testimonials. But what they want to see is, what is it like to really work there? What is it you do? What would my day look like if I worked there? What do you stand for? What is your organization about? That can all be shown in social media. This generation is 74 million people strong. They're truly the first digital generation. And what that means is millennials. Do we have any millennials in the room that remember dial-up? You remember dial-up? Okay, yeah. So you have millennials that remember dial-up. Millennials that held a textbook, an actual physical book in school. Yeah, okay. And millennials learned to write cursive. Yeah, okay. So this generation, Generation Z, they do not remember dial-up. That was not a thing when they came on board. Many of them never held a textbook. It was all digital. And many schools no longer teach cursive writing. And much to the frustration of my financial clients, they are not opening traditional banking and checking accounts. They are also the most ethnically diverse generation, and they expect to see ethnic diversity reflected in the leadership of the organizations they work for. And I think this is an interesting turn of events post-COVID. Mental health is an expectation. And what that looks like is not only does this person care about their mental health, and they want their employer to care about their mental health, they expect the people around them to individually care about their own mental health too. So you say, Meagen, all right, so I've got some Gen Zs on my team. Maybe I work in a hybrid situation or completely remote. How do I make sure that they are feeling connected? You know, maybe this is their first or second job. How do I make sure they're feeling connected to my family business and that they feel part of the process, part of the team? So a monthly 15-minute conversation, where you discuss what's something that you're better at now than you were last month. The value of that question is, especially if you're new to the corporate professional world, we don't understand what our employer has done to invest in us. And it is also a reminder to that person, hey, my employer and the people I'm working with, they care about me learning new skills. So what's something you're better at now this month? What things would you like to get better at this month? You might find out that you've got somebody in the family business that's really interested in a whole different area, you know, that I'd like to learn about the accounting side. What's your plan for developing those skills? And then that very important final question, what resources can I help you with? It's these conversations, especially if you've got a lot of hybrid hybrid working situations, it's these conversations that keep Gen Z connected to your family business's passion, mission, and purpose. USA Today had an interesting article. They were talking about these college professors were reporting that some of their students were turning in papers filled with instant message language. We all know what instant message language is. And when they went back and talked to the students about it, the students were just as sort of intrigued because they weren't even aware they were using this instant message language. And as I read this article, I thought to myself, wow, even the way we write to each other has changed. So for example, if somebody from the traditional generation, remember that's my grandmother, if she were going to write a letter to Tom Smith, how would she start that letter to Tom Smith? Dear Mr. Smith. How would the baby boomer start that letter to Tom Smith? Dear Tom. How would the Gen Xer start that letter to Tom Smith? Tom, thank you. How would the millennials start that letter to Tom Smith? Hey, yo, bro, dude. They wouldn't even write a letter. When was the last time you got a letter from a millennial? But they would send you a what? Text. Text says, I'm too hot for you. And now Generation Z, you don't even get a text of letters and numbers. You get a text full of what? Emojis. Get it? I'm too hot for you. Get it to little you there. Do you know how hard it is to find the right emoji? So what's my point? My point is you've got talented young people, talented Gen Z people who are excited to be there. And then we squash their enthusiasm because when they challenge us to change, we tell them no. We even have a phrase for it. If it ain't broke, what? Don't fix it. You know what? Just because it's always worked doesn't mean it's got to be the way you do it. And maybe it works, but it's not the best way to do it now. See, but Meagen, we just can't throw all the rules out the window. Okay, so you got this young person wants to move it, change it, flip it, turn it, make it bigger, make it brighter, make it faster. Rather than saying no, which I think is our instinct. When someone comes along with less experience than we have, and they tell us we're doing our jobs wrong, that there's a better way to do it, we say no. So rather than saying no, ask yourself, whatever they want to do, whatever they want to try, does it negatively impact cost, quality, safety, or service? Does it negatively impact cost, quality, safety, or service? If the answer is no, that's your little red flag to say, all right, let's give the idea a try. You say, but Meagen, what if it would negatively impact quality? Then you tell them, this is a great idea, but the problem is it's going to impact quality by so much %. If you can figure out a solution to that, we can try your idea. It's important to do this because not only is it the way we grow, but it is the way the younger generations become invested in your business. It's by challenging the way we've done in the past and making their mark is the way they become invested and have emotional commitment to what you're doing. This generation wants the application process to be easy, mobile. I want to be able to save it and finish it later. Now, I know this may sound crazy, but if you have not gone online and looked at your application process recently, I encourage you to do it because 60% of potential job hires quit filling out an application because the application takes too long and has too many questions, often the same question repeated more than once, just reworded. And you would be surprised at how many errors there are in your system, and your applicant presses the submit button and then the thing crashes. I've had many people tell me that. So if you haven't recently, go back, take a look at your application process. There is a store, okay, I'm gonna try to say this, Saugatuck? Did I say, yes, okay. It's called Land Sharks. Is anybody familiar with this clothing store in Saugatuck, Michigan? Okay, I see a few hands. I was fortunate enough to meet the owner at a chamber event, a guy named David, and we were talking about his store, and he said to me, I never have people leave because they don't want to work at my store anymore. He says, their situation might change, but I never have people leave because they don't like it. And so the first thing that David does differently, that's David right there, first thing that David does differently is his job application. This is his job. This is how his job application starts. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I think he does a couple things very clever here. He said 55 people will complete this quiz with less than 2% chance of becoming a shark. So he sets a level of exclusivity to work at his store right off the bat. Then he says, this may not even be worth your time, but if you want to meet some fun and talented people, please answer the questions below, preferably honestly. I like this because he took something we all have seen. We could fill out a job application in our sleep, and he's personalized it. Think about the Generation Z. They personalize everything, the clothes they wear, the cars they drive, the phones they carry. He personalized it. Here's some of the questions on that application. That second question, how many of your friends are getting married this summer, and how many weddings do you anticipate standing in? I asked him about this question. He said, weekends during the summer are our busiest time. He said, and if someone in their 20s, his friends is getting married and they're standing in the wedding, they're going to want Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off. He said, so I just asked him, how many weddings do you anticipate standing in? All right, I'm going to ask a real quick question. How many more minutes do I have? 1 more minute. All right. So what is a Gen Z looking for in a workplace? Casual dress code, pet-friendly environment, and a paycheck every day. Greater than 60% of Gen Zers want to be paid every day. Now, I tell audiences this, and that's what they do. They laugh at that. But you know what? There was one time we laughed about direct deposit. Oh, direct deposit? Oh, no, my people want a check, and then they want to take it to the bank and stand in line. But the technology is there. The technology is there to give Gen Z this, that they want to be paid every day. And so one of my point is that what they want is often available, but sometimes we're hesitant to try it because it is different. All right, I'm going to want to thank a few people, and then I want to bring my dad up. I want to thank Beth, Jeff. We talked on the phone, spent a lot of time. Mackenzie and I played phone tag. She was really trying to help me out. So please give these three people a big round of applause. And I'm going to turn this over to my dad and let him wrap it up. He's not getting up?
Okay, got it.
All right, there you go. All right.
All right.
Over to you, Doobie.
Okay, you're done?
I'm done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I just had one thing to add, because How'd she do, by the way? Yeah, I'm a proud dad, I got to tell you. But the thing I wanted to share with you is this: as you have young people come into the workplace, I think it's important to not forget to share with them the wisdom that you've gained in your family business with some kind of an interesting story or a way for them to relate. And it has to kind of be on the human level, I think. And I'm reminded of a time when I was in college. So I was 18 years old, and I got a job, full-time job, in a factory. It was Reynolds Aluminum. And it was a great job for a college kid because it paid about twice what the minimum wage was, and I was just a janitor. And it was 40 hours a week, afternoon shift, and I just pushed a cart around and cleaned the restrooms in this big, huge factory. Now, what was really made the job great was that I could go into a restroom and hide from my supervisor. And since there were, on the evening shift, there weren't any women in the factory, I could hide in the women's room, and he'd have to knock on the door before he came in, so I'd have fair warning, and that way I could go in there and study. So I'd set up my schoolwork there in the women's restroom. And so one night I'm studying, and the one woman that did work in the factory, she worked up front in the offices, she came in. And she warned me. She says, "Larry, you in here?" Now, her name was Maud, and she was about 4 foot tall. And she was an Energizer bunny like I had never seen before. And she was also old. At least at 18 years old, she seemed really old. I imagine she was in her 60s or 70s. I don't know. But she could work circles around anybody, and she never stopped moving. And so she came in and said, "Have you done this restroom yet?" And I said, "No, not yet. I'm still studying." And she says, "Well, I'll take care of it for you." And she starts cleaning my restroom. Well, I sat there and watched her for a minute or two, and I started to feel a little guilty. So I got up and at least helped her clean my restroom. And so we got talking. And I said, "Maud, how long have you worked here at Reynolds Aluminum?" And she says, "Well, since before the war." And I said, "You're kidding." She says, "Nope." She says, and here's her story. They came out, she and her family, from Oklahoma in 1938 during the Depression and the Dust Bowl. They were dead poor, without work, and they ended up setting up a tent on the side of a canal there in Phoenix, where they lived for 2 years. And they scrounged food out of the back of the garbage cans at the grocery stores and did a little fishing in the canal to see if they could catch a little something to eat. And then the war came on, and Reynolds Aluminum started hiring because Reynolds was making airplane parts. And so she got a job with Reynolds, and she had been working there ever since, as a Rosie the Riveter kind of person. And then when the war was over and all the men came back and took all the women's jobs, she became a janitor. And that's what she'd done. And I said, "You've been here all these years?" And she says, "Yep." And I said, "Well, you must really like Reynolds Aluminum." And she said, "I love Reynolds Aluminum. They gave me a job when we were practically starving. They've treated me right all these years. I will always be loyal to them until the day I die." Now, I got to tell you, that story, as an 18-year-old kid, really touched me, because here I was basically taking advantage of my job there, stealing time from the company, and I was ashamed of myself. And from that moment on, I never, ever again stole a minute of time from my employer. And it was that lesson that she taught me that really made a big difference in my career. And I think we have those lessons to pass along with all the young people who come to work in our family business. And so I guess I'm just encouraging you, don't hesitate to share those stories, even if they act like they don't want to hear them. Because you have the wisdom and they need it. Thank you.
Well, if I couldn't ask for a better segue, I don't know where I would get one, because that tees up a lot of our programming that's coming up in the new year. We have an event on storytelling, and we have a lot of information in our program. But I do want to close out the night by saying thank you very, very much for sharing your compelling history of each generation in today's workforce. Meagen and Larry, thank you so much. And for weaving your own experiences and the experiences of some of our members here today into the presentation as well. So I know that I have a list of action items and things that I will be implementing into my daily practices. Some of the tips and tricks that you have shared that will be helpful to everyone with us today as well, because as I looked around the room, I could clearly see that a lot of heads were nodding and notes were being taken, especially by our members and our sponsors. So let's give Meagen and Larry a big round of applause. Thank you. And as a sign of our appreciation, Meagen and Larry, we have special gifts for you from the Stevens Center. These are photo frames that you will be receiving that were personalized by SVSU students in the Scott L. Carmona College of Business Product Innovation Lab. The lab provides hands-on training to our students to allow them to have product development opportunities right here on campus, and to also help our community. Each frame that we are providing to them has a photo of Meagen and Larry in action today, and we greatly appreciate you being our guests. So thank you.
One favor, can we do a selfie with the group?
Yes, we can.
On the count of three, what should the group yell out?
Family business.
All right, count of three. You're going to throw our arms up in the air and yell,
Family business.
All right, here we go. You got to count to three.
Oh, you didn't tell me that. 1, 2, 3.
Family business. Thank you.
And as a special treat, we do have the book Generations Inc. for everyone. They're on the back tables. They're for our members and our sponsor representatives that are here tonight. So please stop back in the back of the room to pick up your books. Meagen and Larry will be available for one-on-ones to answer any questions you might have and to sign those books for you. So I will let them take a little step back there before everybody else in just a minute. But I also want to let you know that we're looking forward to welcoming you back to SVSU on Tuesday, October 15th for a fantastic event that will be hosted by the Scott L. Carmona College of Business Wixon Nicholas Lecture entitled The AI Revolution, Re-Architecting the World, presented by Hodge Flemings, author and CEO of Rebrand X. This event will be open to the public and will take place here at SVSU's Curtis Hall, but it will be taking place in the Performing Arts Center down in the Rhea Miller Recital Hall. Additional details about this event have been provided in today's program, so the information will be also sent to you via email very soon. This event, again, is open to the public, so we highly recommend arriving early to get a good seat. And I want to give a special thanks to our hospitable SVSU conference and events team today. We appreciate the top-notch service that you have provided for us this evening. Let's give them all a round of applause, please. And a few housekeeping reminders before you depart. Please complete our post-event survey that's on your table on the yellow papers. Please complete them and leave them on your table. Your feedback is very vital to us and will provide valuable information to share with our speakers and also the SCFB Programming Committee. And name tags. Please place name tags in the bins outside of the double doors, or feel free to leave them at your table and we'll come by to pick them up. The program brochures that are on your table hold a lot of great information about our program year, so I encourage you to please take them with you this evening as well. And members and sponsors, just a reminder to please pick up your books in the back of the room. I see that Meagen and Larry have already headed back there, so please feel free to head over to those book signing tables in the back of the room. And we greatly appreciate everyone being here tonight. We welcome you to stop by and see our special guests, and thank you so much for attending this event. And on behalf of the entire team, the SCFB team, we wish you all a very fantastic evening and safe travels. Thank you.